Welcome back to the Conference Manager tutorial series. In this video, we are going to be looking at the setup of the sponsor and exhibitor form and booth registration. We will also look at what the sponsors and exhibitors will see on the front end of the application after the form has been enabled. As always, the first step we will take is to navigate to the Manage Communities page and ensure the Sponsors and Exhibitors module is enabled. If you are a community admin, you will not have access to the Features card where this can be performed. Please reach out to support and ask them to enable this module. Once the module is enabled, navigate to the registration form you are using for your conference. The Sponsor and Exhibitor form, also known as Booth Registration, will utilize the existing registration form for the individual registration part of the booth registration. On the Edit Registration page, click on the Enable Booth Registration button to create the booth registration. In our demo community, this step has already been done. Now click on Booths in the left menu bar and you will see a booth registration with the same title as your registration form. Click on the Edit icon to access the Edit Booth Form page. This page will look familiar if you've set up an abstract or registration form in Conference Manager already. To begin, we will set up the streams. Streams are going to create paths that your registrants will follow, and you will be able to add specific steps as well as specific items to these streams once they are created. In our example, we've created a stream called Tier 1 Sponsors, Large Booth, and another called Tier 2 Sponsors, Regular Booth. You may choose to separate the streams using a sponsor stream and an exhibitor stream if that more closely matches your workflow. You also have the option to add a code to the stream type, so only registrants you've given the code to can access this stream. Lastly, you can create a limit to how many registrants can use this stream. We will now set up the steps. The only steps of the form that are currently optional are the Opportunities and Ticket Information step. You will also notice that the Opportunities step allows you to choose which streams are selected. Once it is enabled, you can select which streams will be able to access this step. Now, let's click on the Exhibition Information step. You can provide instructions to your registrants via the Booth Instructions field. The Only Show Available Booths checkbox will determine whether the registrants see all the booths or only the ones you haven't already assigned. If you are making assignments during the registration process, you will likely want to have this box checked, so registrants are not selecting booths that you've already assigned to a different company. If you are making all your assignments at the end of the registration process, this checkbox becomes irrelevant since all the booths will be available for the entire registration process. You can choose how many booth selections a company can make using the Number of Allowed Booth Selections field. This will allow a company to select multiple booths, so you can use their second or third preference when making assignments if you assign their first choice to a different company. The Allow Unpaid to Hold Booth checkbox will allow your registrants to make their booth selections without paying, and these choices will be held for a certain number of days or until a fixed expiry date is met. After the selected number of days or the expiry date has passed, their selections will no longer appear on the Booth Assignments page. The last action you can take on this page is adding a floor plan to help your registrants decide on which booth to choose. This can be uploaded as a PDF, JPEG, or PNG file not greater than 10 megabytes in size. The next step in the form is Booth Types. This step allows you to add different booth types that the booths themselves belong to. For example, since you can apply certain streams to booth types, you're able to create a sponsor or exhibitor stream and also create a sponsor or exhibitor booth type, so registrants will only see the booths that are supposed to be available to their respective streams. You could also use this to create a booth type with specific sizes and add all those sized booths to that booth type. These are just a couple of examples of how the booth types can be applied. To create a new booth type, click on the Create New Booth Type button, or simply click on the Edit button to edit an existing booth type. Fill out the required fields, and then select which streams are going to be able to access this booth type. The next step in the form is Booths. This is where you will add all the available booths for your conference. You will see a column called Booth ID, a column with the booth description, a column indicating the booth type, a column indicating which streams have access to this booth, and a column indicating the status of the booth. To create a new booth, click on the Create New Booth button. You can also edit existing booths by clicking on the Edit icon. You can archive booths by clicking the Trash icon. You can also manage the booth's assignment status by clicking the arrow icon. When creating a booth, fill out the required fields, then choose which streams have access. Let's move on to the Tickets step. You can create a new ticket by clicking on the Create New Ticket button. To edit an existing ticket, click the Edit icon. These tickets are used for the general attendance of the company, and they'll have to choose at least one ticket to move to the next step of the form. If you do not wish to have a required ticket, you can create a ticket called No Ticket Required or something similar and give it a $0 amount. You can then add your monetized tickets to the Sponsor Opportunities step. When creating a new ticket, fill out the name and description fields. Then choose how many booths selections can be made with this ticket and add a limit to the number of this ticket type that can be purchased. Lastly, you can add the ticket price, applicable tax types, and choose which streams can access the ticket. The next step in the form is the Opportunities step. The opportunities can provide additional sponsorship opportunities or sponsorship packages. On the main opportunities page, you will see columns for the name of the opportunity, whether it includes multiple items or not, the price, the maximum number available, the number of registrants that purchase this item, and whether or not coupons can be applied. Let's look at the setup of an opportunity. You will provide a name and an optional description and image. You can choose if there are multiple items associated with this opportunity, the tax calculation type, and applicable tax types. If No is selected, you will provide a single price, choose whether a quantity field is provided, if there is a per-person limit, and if there is a limit to the total number available. If Yes is chosen, you will see an Add Item button, which allows you to add multiple items to this single opportunity. You will then have the same options we just covered. You will see later in this tutorial what the users see on the front end, as the opportunity will display each item under the opportunity name and the total cost of all the items in this opportunity. The last step for setting up the opportunity is to select which streams will have access and which coupons can be used. The last step to set up in this form is emails. There are two emails to set up: the Booth Registrant Confirmation and the Unpaid Booth Notification emails. As with all the emails within Conference Manager, you will add your sender's name and email address. You will also have access to specific variables that are pertinent to each type of email. Now that we've finished setting up the booth registration form, let's look at adding the individual registration step. First, we'll go to the Steps step in the booth registration form and ensure the correct streams are added. We will then go to the regular registration form and add the booth streams to the proper steps and items so they have access. Examples of these are the tickets, meals, merchandise, and excursions. Once the booth streams have been added to these areas, the individual registration is correctly configured. When we edit a booth registration as an admin from the Sponsors and Exhibitors page, we won't have access to the individual registration part of the form, as those registrants are added to the Registrants page on the registration form. You can edit them from there. This allows an individual to cancel without affecting the company's registration and vice versa. Similarly, we won't see the individual registration part of the booth registration form when we use the Preview Booth function. Now we will take a look at some admin pages. The first page is the Sponsors and Exhibitors page. This page will allow you to filter the sponsors and exhibitors by status, as well as use the inline filtering on the columns that support this. There is a settings cog that allows you to customize the columns and their order, and there is an export button that will download an Excel spreadsheet that contains all the data pertaining the booth registration form. The edit button will allow an admin to edit the company's registration. As mentioned earlier, you will not see the individual registration part of the form when editing as an admin. Please go to the Registrants page in the registration module to edit these. The Edit dropdown also contains a Delete Exhibitor button that is reserved for fraudulent companies. Please do not use this button to cancel, as it archives the sponsor and exhibitor user profile and doesn't allow users access to the application without reaching out and asking for their profile to be reactivated. The next button on the Edit dropdown is the Send Confirmation button. This will resend the confirmation email that was sent when the original registration was done. The next button on the Edit dropdown will take you to the Payments page. This has been covered in previous tutorials, so please refer to them if you require a refresher. The last button on the Edit dropdown is the User Summary. Let's take a closer look at the Booths card. The first button you'll notice is the Send Invoice Emails button. This will send the sponsor and exhibitor invoice email that is configured under the Community Admin dropdown, Financials, Invoice Emails. This email contains a payment URL that will allow the sponsor or exhibitor to pay their balance. If there is no balance owing, this button will be grayed out. The Edit button will perform the same function as the Edit button on the Sponsors and Exhibitors page. The Edit dropdown contains another button to send the invoice email and another link to the Payments page. The next admin page is the Exhibitor Summary. This page contains some filtering options such as company name, status, tickets, and booth types. You can export the data from this page via the Export Exhibitors button. The drop-down beside each company will show you what booth selections the company made, as well as the assignments that have already been done. The next admin page is the Booth Assignments page. This page will show the list of booths you've added to your form, as well as whether or not they've been assigned or selected by companies for assignment. When you click on the Manage Assignment icon, you will be able to assign a company to this booth. The first card will show a summary of the booth, and the second card will show the companies that have selected this booth, as well as any assignment that has already been made. You can click on the Remove Assignment button to remove any assignments that have already been made, or click on the Assign icon to make new assignments. On the left menu bar, we'll now click on the Email Templates button. This page will allow you to create multiple emails templates for the booth assignments. This enables you to create different assignment emails for different types of sponsors and exhibitors rather than sending the same assignment email to them all. Click on the Create New Assignment Email button to create a new assignment email. You will add a sender's name and email address, as well as create the body of the email. You will also have access to pertinent email variables. Back on the Manage Email Templates page, you will also see a button to clone a template or archive it. To send the assignment emails, you will navigate back to the Edit Booth Form page, and in the lower left, you will see a Send Assignment Emails button. You will then select the companies you want to send the email to, followed by a page to select which email template you want to use. On the left menu bar, we'll now click on the Booth Reports button. This page offers 3 reports: the Booth Assignments, Unassigned Booths, and Unassigned Companies reports all export an Excel spreadsheet with helpful data to assist with your workflow of assigning booths. Please refer to the user manual for more information regarding these reports. Let's navigate back to the Edit Booth Form page to look at the last couple functions we haven't covered, as well as look at the Preview button. The Booth Form content blocks are the same content blocks that exist in every other module, and are a method of adding content to your forms that existing fields do not cover. When we click this button, we are presented with the different pages of the form that the users will see on the front end. Once we choose the page we wish to add content to, we can then select whether we want the content to show at the top or bottom of this page. The editor allows lots of formatting options, such as inserting tables, images, documents, and links to other URLs. You can also select the Source button to use HTML to set up your content blocks. Back on the Edit Booth Form page, you will notice there is a button to enable or disable your form, and this is what makes the booth registration appear on the user's dashboards to access the form. Below that button, you will find the Preview button. Keep in mind that you will not see the individual registration step of the form when using the Preview button or editing an existing booth registration as an admin. The Preview window will open in a new tab, and the top card will remain there for most of the process. This card is mainly populated with data from the registration information step located in the registration module. The only thing that appears in this card that is from the booth form setup is the floor plan. If you've added a content block to any of these pages, they will appear at your specified top or bottom of the page. The first step is to select your stream and enter the code if necessary. You will then select your ticket and click Next. On the Booths step, you can choose No Booth Required, or choose your desired booth type from the dropdown. Once the booth type is selected, you can click on the Choose Booth button to make your selection. If the form setup permits, multiple booths can be chosen. You will then be taken back to the previous page and see the selected booths appear beside the booth types dropdown. Click Next, and you are now on the Opportunities step. If you created an Opportunities package that consists of multiple items, the Opportunities name will be listed with the sum of all the items beside it. Below that is the description you've added for this opportunity, followed by each item's name you added to the opportunity. Once you've made your selection, you finish the preview and can click the Close Window button. That brings us to the end of the booth registration tutorial for the Sponsors and Exhibitors module. We look forward to seeing you in the next video of the Conference Manager tutorial series.